podcast, Tech Products That Work.
There are support chats with third parties, suppliers of mine that I have to go through the loops, and the bot will kind of come up and give me this multiple choice thing. And to be honest, once I've gone through those 4 or 5 steps, the human interaction it never really takes long for a human being to then start discussing the thing, and he or she already has all of that information. I'm so happy with that because I can see the value in that as the consumer on that end. You've taken all the information that you required from me to speed this process up for yourself and for me. So perfect. As opposed to others where the conversation sort of just starts off and you immediately get this idea of like, oh, this bot wants to talk to me. Like, it's not just gathering information. Like, it actually thinks it's going to start. Like, I don't know if you can be racist towards a robot, maybe in the future, but like, it's like, no, this is not going to happen. And I wonder if people can measure, like sites like those, can they measure how often and how soon someone goes, I want to speak to a human being, please? Because that is my knee-jerk reaction to that. As soon as I see that this thing's not just gathering data to put me through to a human and actually wants to start speaking to me as though it's going to solve my problems for me, I go, no. I lie, actually, because sometimes I'll prod at it a little bit and see what kind of information I can get out of it and see how clever this thing is. And I think it's like maybe once or twice, and I can go, nah, you're not going to cut it, dude. Like, put me in touch with a human.
Yeah.
I wonder if they can do some, if they can add that to their analytics or something, to see how often people just ask for a human. And even that, then when you prompting it, let me speak to a human, you're kind of waiting to see what this thing's going to do. Is it going to put me through, or is it going to try and act like a human, or is it going to be like, no, hang on, I can help you. And that,
I am a human. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah. If it pushes back, wow, my respect for the company is going to drop through the floor, man. Like, it mustn't push back. A human better come along real quick. Otherwise, that's going to be a drop-off, man. And you've lost potentially a huge sale, or who knows. I think when it comes to that, there has to be this, like, we got to all agree. It has to be this like universal agreement that it's over. Move on.
But I think therein also lies a bit of the conversation of like the psychology of the thing, because it can very quickly happen that you expect everybody you speak to understand it and know it the way you do. And then that could actually impact your implementation of the thing in software you build. I'm not saying you are guilty of this, but I'm saying I can see that happen. I can see how you build an AI bot into a thing and think, people are going to get frustrated and ask for a human, and then I'm going to send them a human. But you're going to get this layer of users who just are more and more oblivious to the fact that this is AI.
I don't know if I see it that way, because your younger demographic, like your Gen Zs, are now not very far from becoming the majority with the buying power in the market, right? And I think they're quite clever. There's something that is very interesting that is happening in that generation. They really don't like AI, man. I don't know if you've been paying attention, but they don't like it. A little bit hypocritical, though, because I think they do like it when it comes to being given an assignment by the teacher or the professor to do, and then AI comes in handy, right? So I think they got a little bit of a complex relationship with it, but one thing's for sure, they are hyper aware of this thing and how this thing acts, so they might decide whether they like it or not at the time, or whether they can make use of this thing. So I'll give you an example. Like, there's a project that we've just recently integrated an AI bot for. But I mean, I'll be honest, there's an exploratory phase to a project before you start the project when it comes to the bigger software development projects. And within that phase, if the client is asking us to integrate an AI bot for something that I don't necessarily agree is going to add value, then I will make it known. In this case, what we did was we integrated an AI bot to basically be a second option to using an old now you can refer to it as an old school search bar. Or category drop down, so I think that's just going to depend on what the user prefers, because there's a search bar over there and you can type in your keyword and your results are going to come up, or you can click on the bot and you can say, hey, this is what I'm looking for, specifically this, specifically that, and your results are going to come up. I think that's perfect. Ultimately, if the choice is there for your users, then that's a good thing. Your users are going to decide which direction they want to go, how they prefer to use this application, the old manual process or the new, let me just chat to a bot. And the assignment is narrow and it makes sense, the purpose of the bot. So that keeps it relatively straightforward and easy. It's kind of a no-brainer. But to come back to your question that you raised, I don't know if the chasm is going to get bigger. I think maybe just the amount of people that adopt it and are okay with using the thing for what it's there for, compared to those that don't want to touch it, yes, I would imagine the divide would become huge. Those Gen Z guys are going to grow up into the market and they're going to start realizing, look, there are things that it's useful for. And if we as a human race, which is the whole point I'm trying to make in this discussion, right? If you're going to continue to use it where it can add value and you're quite determined to only plug it into those applications that it's going to be good for and keep it away from the parts where it either irritates people or it's not that great, then I think you're going to be fine. But that also, which I guess is the more difficult thing to discuss, is that it also very largely depends on how good this thing is going to become, which is what you touched on, right? The singularity. Personally, I don't see that. I don't see the singularity. I don't know if the guys that are developing AI are talking about that and trying to make us think that that's going to happen because they just want more people to buy shares so that they can line their pockets. Or are they seeing something we're not seeing? Once again, I'll come back to the very first point I made. Use it. Actively use it. Like in a real way. I'm not talking about asking for suggestions and recipes and directions and whatever. I'm talking about for practical purposes in like a business setting. It's not going to take you long to see how that thing can disappoint you. Once again, that's a good thing, That's where you're going to start learning.